No, that's good. Another thing I think is good for us to kind of talk through, you opened up with it earlier about the law, and it's funny because I was spending time recently in Hebrews, and you were talking about sacrificing the animals and all that. I mean, if you really want to understand the before the crucifixion, how things had to be, I mean, you have this, the talks about the holiest of holy rooms. The priest could only go in there once a year.
Once a year. And they had to be perfectly sanctified to go in there. Otherwise, they faced death themselves. They didn't do it perfect.
Yes.
Dressed in the perfect clothes, washed in the perfect way, wearing the perfect it was very, very detailed.
Down to the T. I mean, the way that the rooms were even set up and decorated and everything, it talks about this in Hebrews. It was a earthly, man-made replication of what was in heaven.
The holy tabernacle in heaven, yeah.
Yes, exactly. The holy tabernacle in heaven. And like Cheri said, the priest had to be like, you couldn't have a secret sin and try to go in there, okay, let me go kill this whatever animal sacrifice. All right, God, we good? Nah, you walk in there, boom, you're done.
You're done. It's just like that. And, he was really, I mean, there was such strictness to so much. I mean, there was so much forgiveness, but at the same time, there was so much strictness too. I mean, there was, to get that forgiveness, there was so much that had to be done in order to achieve forgiveness. And you needed a priest, and you needed there was all these layers to getting that. Before you could, you couldn't just go to God. You needed an intermediary.
Exactly what I was getting to. You could not just have a conversation with God. And I think it's something so many people miss out on when you really want to understand who Christ is and what he did for you. He is constantly interceding for you in the holiest of holy tabernacle rooms. So it's like it got to a point where the animal sacrifices, they wouldn't suffice for the sin. Like, I know for myself, I can't speak for anybody else, I know if I think about my past, I couldn't kill, there's not enough animals on this earth that I could kill to suffice for the sin.
No, I know, it's awful when you think about the sins you've done, and you think about if you had to do it that way, just how, I mean, first off, it's just, I get that we live in a different time and age, but it seems so awful. That seems so, the constant bloodshed of animals. And I know it wasn't a daily thing. This is a feast day, a Sabbath day thing that this would be done. But still, do you have any idea how many Israelites was in that camp? Like hundreds of thousands. Imagine all the rams and cattle and lambs that had to be slaughtered. And anyone who's ever, and I haven't personally, but I know plenty of hunters, anyone who's ever slaughtered an animal, you can tell you what, that's a chore. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. And
Sorry, I couldn't help it. I should have just
is
said
there
it.
something going on behind?
Yeah, because I said it's a lot of work, and I'm like, bathing cats is a lot of work too. Bathing kittens is a heck of a lot of work.
It's okay. I can edit it out.
I know. That's why I was like trying not to laugh, because I was like, I couldn't get it out of my head. I'm like, a lot of work is bathing kittens.
Oh my gosh.
Ugh, can you imagine slaughtering an animal?
No, but like I was saying, it got to a certain point, the animals wouldn't suffice.
And they never were good enough. I mean,
oh yeah,
we're told that was not. He just being righteous and not sinning was far better than any animal sacrifice, you know.
Right. And thus the Word became flesh.
And our salvation.
Became flesh, yep. and through the crucifixion, He was the ultimate sacrifice.
He was and He paid for. His blood covered it all.
Yes.
He paid for our sins.
Yeah. He paid for it all.
Willingly, like a lot of people, when they read the Bible, and I do get it, because when I was younger, I had those, I didn't quite understand either. Everything seemed so violent and bloody, and, you know, the sacrifice, you know, I was like, why would, you know, God sacrifice His own Son? What an awful thing. But it's so, you have to understand that He willingly, it wasn't, you know, I get that they say He was a sacrifice, but in a way, He willingly offered. His sacrifice was a willing offering of His blood to cover us, to pay once and for all for the curse of death that we had brought upon ourselves. Yeah. Because we did not have life prior to His crucifixion. We didn't have it. Mm-hmm. We had death. Mm-hmm. That's the only promise we had. And it was His willing sacrifice. And there is a really great YouTube video called The Crimson Worm. And I'm going to butcher this, because there's several verses in the Bible that refer to this worm, and I forget the name of it. It's, you know, but I'm going to give you a brief synopsis of this worm, and it's related to several times in the Bible. I think in Psalms at one point, when they're prophesying about the Messiah's coming, and there's this interesting worm, and it literally climbs onto a tree. It covers itself in a crimson saliva. It gives birth to its young, and that saliva pasted to itself. It sacrifices itself as food for its baby, and then it turns white as snow afterwards, and the babies crawl off. It literally sacrifices itself on a tree for the life of its children. Now, who are we? Are we not God's children? We're His children. He literally climbed onto a tree. It's really kind of weird. Yeah. I'll have to. It's called The Crimson Worm. It's out there. It's a YouTube video. It's funny, I watched it just yesterday, and I cannot think of the name of the word, and I can't think of the scripture that it's used, because I wasn't thinking about bringing that up at all. That was just, all of a sudden, it just dawned on me that I had just watched this video, and it's just fascinating stuff like that. It's referred to in the Bible, and does the exact same thing.
Sacrificed Himself on the wood.
And when everything's said and done, it turns pure white as snow, and flakes off, and like little snowflakes. Wow. But it leaves a red stain on the wood permanently, forever.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that piece.
How could you forget that?
I don't know. It's really this crazy kind of thing, but it's referenced in Psalms, I believe it is, and maybe in a few other places too. But it's referenced in the section of Psalms where they're talking about, they're clearly referring to the coming of Messiah being pierced in the hands and the feet, and and then they reference this crimson worm.
Wow.
And it's really weird, because when you look it up, you're like, what is this word? Like, what is this thing they're talking about? And this is what they're talking about.
Wow. Wow. I need to read that and watch the video.
Yeah. It's only an 8-minute video, too. Yeah. It's not like a bad watch.
Yeah. I mean, you think about Christ. I mean, those wounds are eternal.
Absolutely.
The piercings in His hands and feet.